part 2. I'm so sorry. Life happens and we get kids that need help. So again, what I did was I did the least common multiple. I showed you how to do it, but then I would use your calculator because again, this is a time test. So it needs to go as fast as possible. So greatest common factor is when it's like an intersection, right? Where they have the overlapping in there. And so when I have 48, that's 6 times 8, 2 times 3, 2 times 4, 2 times 2. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 4. And then for 24, that's 4 times 6, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. And then there was nothing, no letters here. And here there was an M and an N. And so we're looking for, what do they have alike? So like, since they both have a 2, I'm going to mark that out. This is what they have alike. It looks a lot the same markings, but I'm just going to mark what they have in common. So that's the only thing they have in common. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24, which is why only D is that answer. Now, if you looked at this one, you can see they both have 36. This one has 2 A's. A times A is A squared. This one has 1. So the only thing they would have in common is just this 1. So that's why it's going to be 36A. Okay, moving on to the next page. I would usually have us start down here at composite and prime. So prime, as you guys know, is when it's just 1 and another number. Oh, gotta get wrong one. So prime means like 3, 1 times 3, right? But not 4, because 4 is 2 times something. So like 54, we know that's 2. If I divide that by 2, I'd get 27. So that must be composite. Basically, any even number like that, 13, that means it's composite, right? So if it's even, if it's even, then it's composite. But this one, 107, that's the only thing that can go in there. You can try 1, you can try, well, not 1, obviously, sorry. So 107 divided by 2 doesn't work. Divide by 3, divide by 5. And I'm only using prime numbers because obviously 4 wouldn't go in there if 2 didn't. But anyways, you would go through there and you would find out that it is prime. 166 and 167. What do you guys think? Think about it. Prime or composite? Right, I could divide that by 2, so it's composite. I couldn't with that one, and I could check again. 167 divided by 2, 3, 5, and you could go on, but it's prime. Okay. So the reason why I skipped this at first is because it's going to help us with our next thing. So there's all of these properties, but we only care about 3 of them. Commutative, so these top 2. The way I describe that is we commute. We commute from A to B, like home to school, school to home. Obviously, some of you have jobs, you don't go straight to, this is my terrible drawing. But commute means you go from one place to the next. So as you can see, we have 1, 2. That's with addition, this one's with multiplication, 2 things. I might regret this because I am recording myself, but this is how I teach it. Associative. The first 3 letters are naughty 3-letter word. So I've got 3 things, right? All those are addition. This one's multiplication. They just put the parentheses over different things. Associative, 3 letters, bad word. Okay, and then the last one is distributive property, which you guys all know. Distributive means whenever we distribute that first number, we multiply it out. Okay, so on this page, we would work through what are the properties. So I'm going to go ahead and do this first one. So it says which one is the commutative. We just said that means it has to have 2. This has way too many. This is not enough. This is too many. Here we are. 2 things, 5 times 3, 3 times 5. It's commuting it. It's going from one thing to the next to the first. Okay. The next one says, which property would we use to follow this to simplify? Well, because there's something outside of it, we would distribute. So A. I suggest you pause and just try the rest of these in just a moment. All right, hopefully you actually did that. So right here we can see we have 1, 2, 3 things, but they switched them around. So it's the associative, but it's multiplying, and so that's why it's D. Okay, then we've got back to this one. We've got 1, 2, 3 things. So it's associative property. Does it have the other one? Nope, it's associative. Okay, then looking at this next one, 1, 2, 3 things moving around. So it's associative of multiplication, not addition. I do not think I'm doing a good job with all this. It's hard to like show you everything at once. Please forgive me. I'm sure this is awful, but I'm doing my best. Please give me any tips too. Can you see it if I'm this far out? I don't know. We're going to try that now. All right. So commutative property means 2 things, and it says of addition. So I've got 8 and 7, 5 and 8, but 7 and 5 are not the same thing. It'd have to be this guy because it's 9 and 2, 2 and 9, so that's why it's D. Associative property of addition. So again, associative means 3 things. We're looking for addition. So the only thing that that's commutative. This is identity, identity. So the only one that would work is A. And then right here we would distribute. So that's why it's also A. Okay. And then which operation would not change the value of any non-zero number? So if I multiply by 0, if I do like 3 times 0, that changes it to 0. If I multiply by 1 though, that gives me back the original number. If I add 1, that would change it. If you would have added 0, that could have also worked, but this is divide by 0, which is undefined, so we don't want that. It would have to be C. And the last one that looks like the associative property at first because it's 3 things and it got parentheses, but you can see it went from 3 plus 9 times 5 to 3 times 5 and 3 times 9, which means it's the distributive property. Okay, the last thing in this first packet is binary, which is not typically tested on the ACT. It's just something fun to learn. So you're probably just going to zoom to the end there and just write down the answer. But it is interesting. I am videoing a lesson on my iPhone and sending it to YouTube and YouTube to Canvas, and all that is somehow zeros and ones. It's mind-boggling, actually. And so what you would do is, it's saying is, what does this number mean? What does it actually mean? So the way we would do it is we'd go from forward to backwards. So this first, I'm gonna have to maybe do some pen. So right there, that's 2 to the 0 times 1. That's what that says. And then I would go right here, 2 to the 1 times 0. 2 squared times 1. 2 cubed times 0. 2 to the 4th times 0. And 2 to the 5th times 1. So I'm just going to use this code right here because do you see it says that 0 is 1. So I'm just going to write here, that's 1 times 1 is 1. Anything times 0 is 0, so I'm just going to knock those out. 2 squared, we know that's 4 times 1 would just be 4. And 2 to the 5th, right here is 32, times 1 would be 32. So when I'm done, I'm going to add those up. So 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Okay, again, I want to give you just a second. What I would usually do is assign this as homework and say, you try it. So pause for a sec. All right, your answer should have been 98. If you got it, hooray! Give yourself a little party. This was your first packet. I hope it went well, even though it was in 2 sections.